Greetings, welcome to yet another video where I paint and assemble things. I have so many projects I'm working on, I really should catch up on them. What kind of person would get another project to work on before completing something? So yeah, I got Warcry Red Harvest. Time for an unboxing and frustration video. Yay! Cue the montage. So here we are with yet another large coffin box. Now, this game contains a lot of terrain and a decent amount of miniatures, so it is quite heavy. I'm actually quite excited for it. I really like the look of the spider guys a lot. So, is there anybody else that looks at this box art and thinks Hero Quest Barbarian? I mean, I know people have said Conan or whatnot, but I mean, to me, he looks like the barbarian from Hero Quest. How far has this guy fallen, right? So, now that we got the lid off, we get terrain sprues. Now, this first one actually is the spider guys, of course. And as always with Games Workshop products, the details are amazing. You get one of this sprue, and this one is the bane of my existence. We'll get to that. That was a bear to put together, let me tell you. So, you also get a sprue of the old terrain from the original box set. It contains a couple of walkways, some barriers, and things like that. And those are self-explanatory. Each of these sprues here are the sluices, and there's another small building behind that. This is another of the sluices for the Varanite ore. And here, this is my favorite part of it. This reminds me of the Goblin Town set a lot, with the different platforms and whatnot. Now, these platforms weren't so bad to put together. The biggest problem, the sluices and the platforms were not so bad, but the other stuff, the ore apparatus with the buckets was awful. And as always, we get a nice insert with the box art on it. I keep telling myself I'm going to frame all of these and put them on my wall at some point. And of course, the board. And underneath we have all the miscellaneous goodies. Now the set obviously comes with everything you need to play Warcry, including ruler, tokens, and quite a large amount of baggies. Now, as a board game player, I definitely am going to save all of the baggies because I have a Plano box that I use for all of my Warcry stuff. The dice are different. These are a lot more square than the original dice. You get your cards, and they actually put a nice piece of cardboard in there to keep everything from getting bent. I appreciate that little detail. And so assembly instructions. The assembly instructions were actually fairly straightforward. I really didn't have any issues with following the instructions themselves. The only real problem I had was how fiddly some of the assembly was. Like I said, the initial sluices and the platforms there are pretty easy to put together. The biggest problem I had, that one was a little strange, but this guy right here, that thing is terrible to assemble. There's a lot of frustration behind that. Now, to have a look at the book. As always with GW stuff, the production value is amazing. The art is great, the lore is cool, and obviously a little bit of self-promotion there. Understand that, got to do it. But you get a nice overview of all the components, that come with the box. You get a nice little bit of background story, and then it goes into the two different factions, and it goes into a little bit more of the lore behind them, as well as an extensive amount of campaigns or missions for the campaign that you get. And I really appreciate this. I haven't even played Warcry yet, because when I got into Warcry, it was during the height of COVID, when I started painting and collecting and unboxing and getting everything ready. So my kill team stuff and my Warcry stuff is kind of sat on a shelf. Now, as you can see in a couple of these pictures, there are some nods to the original terrain as well. There's some very nice setups in the book. Again, you can't beat GW for the production value, because their books always look amazing. And obviously, their paint jobs are wonderful. So here are all of the different layouts for the board, some campaign information and whatnot. And I'm just going to let this flip through a little bit, and I'll come back to you. Alright, assembly. So originally I hadn't intended this to be an assembly video, but once I started having a little bit of issues with the fiddly bits, I decided to throw a little bit more into the video. So as you can see, I'm pointing out here, this little section, it's two different pieces. Those two struts there are a part of the right hand side, and then the platform is its own little thing. So you have to kind of glue all of that together and then kind of piece it together. And I suggest you do it on a flat surface. Now, this one, as you can see on this bottom piece, it's just one small little fiddly thing. The chain, the head, all of that, you have to line all of that up. The wheel especially was kind of a pain in the ass. You have to actually, that strut, that piston that goes between the wheel and the arm, you have to actually line that up, and there's only one little piece holding that wheel on. As you can see, there's nothing on this other side, so it's just that one little strut holding it on. So once you assemble the strut and put it all together, you have to kind of string it together. Now, this is ridiculous. I mean, holy crap. Putting tiny little skeletons on a tiny little wheel and tiny little skulls was crazy. So you have to make sure that all the handles are put together properly. You have to put all the skeletons together as well, and kind of like I had to set one of the skeletons on top of the strut in order to keep it from falling, because he's kind of hanging in midair. And I heard that there was maybe a misprint in the book. I have not verified the veracity of that, but as you can see, there's all these little tiny bits and pieces that you have to kind of slap together. And I really suggest that you use Gorilla Glue for this. I know plastic cement is usually faster, but Gorilla Glue has a really good hold on it. Now, here is the most frustrating part of this build. This thing was terrible. Now, as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of Gorilla Glue on the large like assembly piece there, and I'm taking each of the buckets and I put a finger inside the bucket. Quiet, you. Don't say anything about what I just said. Didn't mean it that way. So you put your finger inside the bucket, and then you kind of have to hold it there until the glue dries. That is the way I would suggest you do it, because the first way I tried it is to kind of balance it on there. It just wasn't working. So you kind of have to exercise a little bit of patience when you're putting your finger in the bucket, so to speak. Anyway, once each of the buckets has been dried and put onto the strut there, you actually have to take the two pieces and kind of put them together and sort of line up the buckets with the two sides. Now, as you can see here, this is everything clipped and scraped and assembled. I did use a little bit of plastic cement on a few pieces, but the sluices they went together very well. The platforms were a little fiddly. As you can see, I forgot to snip some pieces off the side of that bridge there. The bridges are amazing. They look really good. The ladders are okay. There's a little bit of fiddle in there too. But that little bucket thing, I forgot what the name of it was. Ooh. The derrick there is not so bad. So, that's everything kind of in an overview and everything together. The terrain looks great, and I've actually already primed it. And you'll have to forgive the quality, but I'll put a video of what it looks like primed. It's going to be kind of a low quality video because I have it in my garage and there's not very good lighting. So this is what I use to prime it all. I used coastal sage for my original terrain and matte coffee for the wood. As you can see, everything's been kind of primed here. So hopefully you'll find something you like, and if you do, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.